For Sir Zex, he had definitely seen better days. Being a king was never easy, especially given that you walked a fine line, never knowing that one misstep could lead to all-out war, chaos, death, and destruction. Having all of that weighing on your shoulders, it truly added to the old saying that heavy is the head that wears the crown. And now, yet another burden had been placed upon him. The death of Theodora Astaroth. And worse, it was in the human world. Of course, even if Theodora was not the most well-liked among the social circles of the underworld, it didn't take from the fact that he was of a noble status of the Astaroth family. And for him to be murdered in such a way, it wasn't something that, as a Devil King, he could ignore. Azazel would agree with this, but now this left them spinning their wheels to figure out who done it. Regardless, Sir Zex would say to Azazel on call, this isn't something that can be swept under the rug. And I'm not saying it should, Azazel would reply. But we do need to cover all of our bases. For one, are we really sure that the Chaos Brigade would do something like this? They typically go after powerful opponents, and with all due respect, even for Theodora and his status, he's nothing but a small fish in an even bigger ocean, at least compared to the likes of Yoru and more others. Even if that's the case, there are people who are demanding justice. I can't just look the other way. Someone has to pay for this crime, and if anyone from the Chaos Brigade are involved, then all-out war is going to be had, even if it means having a march to the earth itself. Now hold on, Azazel would say. You might want to rethink that. Sending a full-scale invasion into Earth to try to weed out the Chaos Brigade? You'd only be giving them exactly what they want, and they didn't even have to lift a finger to cause it. And not to mention our treaty. Personally speaking, I've never considered Earth to be something worth fighting for, but I would like to keep it intact. And Michael, for better or for worse, he can't just stand by and let you invade Earth as you please. Even with this alliance, it could be broken in an instant if he has to stand against you. I know, and I don't want it to get to that point. I was actually thinking about having someone look into it. You know, perhaps a third party. You mean your sister? I'd hate to have to rope her into this, but right now she seems to be my best option. At least with her and her parish in the area, they can look into it and investigate and find the true cause of the incident. If there's no need for me to get involved into such a degree, then perhaps that would be for the best. I agree. But I think it should be a joint effort. Having everyone involved, it shows that we're forming a united front, and that we won't tolerate this sort of action. Agreed. Keep me posted if anything changes. By the way, where's Constantine? He's taking a sabbatical to the United States. He's looking into another potential problem area. It seems like they keep springing up one after another. Yeah, always a pain in the ass. But it's better we try to stay on top of it now and avoid something even worse happening later. But I'll keep you posted if anything else occurs, Your Highness. In the meantime, Issei and friends were still continuing on with their preparations for the upcoming school sports festival. It seemed like this year everyone was getting into the festivities, even those you wouldn't expect. Of course, there was Issei and Asya, who were in the three-legged race, Raven, who had decided to enter into the bread-eating contest, and even Shaira Hall was getting into the festive mood, as she would be the overseer for the sports, the one who would be in charge of organizing everything and sticking with the committee. She seemed to have a knack for getting things together and for being a boss, But on top of all of that, she was starting to adjust herself to school life. Besides the fact that she was raised in heaven and trained to be a proper soldier and warrior, as well as harnessing the power of the red dragon, Dreg, she had never really had much of what you would consider a normal life. Of course, she had people who were friendly to her, people who tried to be her friend, but in the end, she was always no nonsense, always to the point. So being in a school setting, she felt like she should act accordingly. But there was one thing that bugged her more than anything else. Issei Hyodo. She wasn't sure how to feel about him, but she knew that he was someone that she just couldn't understand. Someone with a famed sacred gear like the Scarab, and yet he only just now achieved the Balance Breaker. And even then, he seemed to be more of a lecherous wrench than anything else, constantly peeping and sneaking around in the girl's bathroom, or always trying to cop a feel whenever possible. Even when it seemed like he wasn't trying to, it was almost as if there was some magnetic force that always seemed to connect his hand to a pair of breasts. It didn't help matters when she caught him in the storage room with Zenobia and Asia. It didn't help when she was walking around in the house and Issei was always up to something, whether it be with Rias or Akano. Hell, even someone like Koneko, who she thought had more sense than that, was now starting to purr around him. And honestly, she just couldn't see it. What did these girls see in a guy like him? Was it just for the power? Were they that desperate to sire the children of someone that could be considered strong? Surely they could have better options. Like, honestly, he had accomplished what? If anything at all? There wasn't anything special about him. At least for what Shaira could understand. He needed help just to try to achieve Balance Breaker. He barely fought Volley to a standstill, was practically useless fighting against Damien Dark, and yet every which way he talked the biggest of games. And what's worse, it seemed like almost every girl was always swooning around him, always being captivated and mesmerized at everything he did, like he was just so damn special. She just couldn't understand it. And one day, she wanted to get to the bottom of it. She remembered helping cooking dinner with Akano. The two of them were working fairly well as they were making a beef stew, and it came up in conversation. Akano asked Shaira how she was enjoying her stay in the human world, and Shaira said that she was getting along quite well, but there was something that was bugging her. "I hope I'm not speaking out of turn," Shaira said, "but what exactly do you all see in Issei?" "Huh?" Akano said as she started to blush. "Why would you ask something like that? Are you interested in him?" "Of course not. Please. Like I could ever be interested in someone like him. I just don't get it. I don't get what's all the hype around someone like him. I mean, honestly, I'd like to think that even someone like you, like Devils, would have some high standard, and it's just..." "I think you misunderstand," Akano would say, as she started chopping the vegetables a bit more aggressively. "I think it would behoove you not to speak of Issei in such an ill manner, especially in front of me. He stirs your emotions even that much?" "Greatly. I don't think there's anything I wouldn't do for that boy." "But why? I don't understand. I don't get it." "Maybe it's hard for you to understand. You haven't come to know him like we do. Make no mistake, when we first met, I honestly thought he was cute. In a goofy sort of way. Someone who was in way over his head. And trust me, he was. When it came to training, oh, he was the worst of the worst. He couldn't accomplish anything. He couldn't even learn how to do magic. Honestly, I couldn't help but smile through the process, but even I had disappointment. Hearing about what he was capable of, I honestly expected more. And yet it seemed as though time and time again, he could never quite live to the hype. But then, he saved my best friend. A person that means the world to me. I couldn't do anything, nor could any of my allies, but he did. He stood up to Volley, stood up to Beetle. His heart is never one of cowardice, and I can see it sometimes. I know that deep down, he knew he was in over his head, and yet he still came to our defense. And the way he fights for Raven, a lot of times people talk about executing the poor girl for something she had no control over, no say-so. And yet not once has he ever abandoned her. He's never given up. I see a lot of reasons to admire him, and I see a lot of reasons to love him. You know, recently, I even was able to reconcile with my father. I wouldn't say it was because of him necessarily, but I can say he gave me a push in the right direction. At my most lowest, at my most vulnerable, he could have taken advantage. He probably could have had his way with me, and I would have let him. But he didn't do that. He comforted me. He cared for me. He was there for me, and he didn't use me or abuse me. Sure, he can be a bit lecherous at times, but he's a man that knows what he wants. He wants a harem of the most beautiful women in the world. But he doesn't just want a harem selfishly. He cares for each one of us. He's always putting our needs ahead of his own. He goes out of his way to try his hardest to be the best that he can be. And when you see something like that, how can you not fall in love with him? He's not perfect. He's far from perfect. He's the total opposite. And honestly, I wouldn't change anything about him. Shaira could feel the sincerity in Akino's words. This wasn't a lie. No, this was how all of these girls saw Issei. Even her close friend Irina couldn't help but admire the boy that Issei was. And so Shaira started to observe. It was without knowledge, but she saw how Issei acted when he wasn't in his perverted situations or being a complete goofball. She saw the acts of someone that actually cared, someone that tried his best, someone that did the little things, even when he thought no one was watching. Perhaps there was more to Issei than met the eye. No, she could never love someone like Issei. He was too much. No. Issei was too much for a girl like her. But perhaps he wasn't as bad as she thought. At the very least, she would have to reconsider her judgments of him. In the meantime, Azazel would be working with Carter, aka Booster Gold, working on his own sacred gear. This is a spiffy piece of work you got, Azazel would say. Well, technically speaking, it's an artificial sacred gear. You made this? I wasn't alone. I had a lot of help. It took every resource in our capabilities just to create it. What's it called? My name is Skeets, and it's a pleasure to meet you, the small, round, golden, artificial sacred gear would say, as it started hovering around Booster. Master, it seems you have achieved your goal. You have made it to the past, and by my calculations, 500 years. I have to say, that was pretty good for our first trial run. Yeah, you really got us through. Thanks a lot, Skeets. So you can talk. Yes, I am programmed to speak over 4,200 languages. Any kind that you may speak of, whether both ancient or current. Ah, you're an impressive little guy. So, Skeets, what exactly can you do? Azazel would ask. Well, I am an artificially created sacred gear, and I was made with the purpose of harboring the power of time itself. Inside of me, there is a dial with 12 different settings, each one corresponding to a different dial on a clock, analog, from 1 to 12. I have different functions and settings. For example, dials 1 through 6 are different fighting capabilities that I possess. Fighting capabilities. So you mean different powers? Things like that? Yes. These are all at the disposal of my master. For dials 7 through 11, each dial number in and of itself is a storage unit for a different weapon that can be artificially placed inside of me for storage and safekeeping till later, such as my master's flight ring that also contains his power suit, as well as other stored weapons. So dial 1 through 6 are for different powers, and 7 through 11 are for weapons. Then what exactly is 12? Well, the 12th dial is the master dial, the prime number. With that, it allows for my master to travel through passages of time, whether it be to the future or to the past. So that's the 12th function. You were able to achieve time travel? Yeah, but it's not easy though, Carter would say. Even 500 years into the future, with all the advancements that mankind had, time travel is still one of the more taboo aspects of it. It's not something that can easily be obtained. In fact, up until when Skeets was created, time travel was still considered a relative theory in the grand scheme of things. At best, we had only learned to send objects into the future or the past, but sending a living being, that was an entirely different story. But you managed to perfect it. And you've managed to make it work for you. It's not like I really had much of a choice. Honestly, I was in a pretty desperate situation. I knew that I had to take a chance. Either it worked, or I died. Really wasn't any in-between with that. Well, now you've made it. What do you plan on doing now? I've given you all the warnings. The only thing I can do now is try and set the future on a better path. Besides, it's only a one-time use per year. Skeets won't be able to use the time travel mechanism of its sacred gear form for another full year. So, there's nothing I can do till then but wait. What exactly are you waiting for? Azazel would ask. I'm just waiting for a moment. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure when, but I know that a moment's coming. And I know that when it does, everything is going to hinge on that moment. You talking about Raven? Or Issei? Azazel would ask. That's just the thing. I'm not even sure myself. It was the end of the school day for Carter, as he was closing up his locker and preparing to go home, when suddenly Issei was standing before him. There were a few girls that were looking to speak to Carter. Even for his short stint here, he had found himself becoming rather popular with the ladies. Honestly, before the world went to absolute hell, he had aspirations for trying to get rich and famous, and a part of him still wanted to achieve that goal, maybe as a superhero, an actor, something along those lines. But when you're fighting for your life in the end of the apocalypse, things like dreams and ambitions kind of go out the window. But still, for Issei to be here, and with a serious look, he could only tell that he must have had something big on his mind. Issei, what's up? You mind if we go for a walk? Sure. What about? I need to talk to you about something privately, if you don't mind. Once they were far enough from any prying ears or eyes, Issei decided to let out what he was feeling. I know you probably have no reason to tell me, but I need to know. Know what? Everything. I need to know about the future and not gonna happen. Why not? Because telling you any more about the future, there's no telling what type of consequences that could have. I mean, the fact that you already know what you do, it's already too much, and so that means things are already bound to change. Look, with all due respect, we don't know how time travel works. You maybe have an idea, but it's no better than ours in this current time. And the way I see it, things can't get any worse than what they're already going to be. So I want the truth. I want to know, why did things get as bad as they did? And why is Raven and I in the center of it? It's complicated. Then simplify it for me. Please. You know, Azazel specifically told me not to tell you, because he figured that you'd try to do something, that you'd try to circumvent the circumstances that are going to happen. Issei, time is a very delicate thing. The more you play with it, the more you twist it and bend it and change it, more often than not, you make things even worse than in the start. What could be worse than the end of the world? I mean, with all due respect, you said so yourself. The world is basically an apocalypse in your time, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if I'm the one that's at the center of all of it, then at the very least, I want to know what I did. It's been eating at me. I just can't. You're stressing about it too much. You keep thinking about what could happen, and it's not something that could happen, it did happen. So please, I just want to know. All right. If you really want to know that badly, but don't say I didn't warn you. As you know, I come from the future. About 500 years, give or take. In that time, Trigon is unleashed. How, when, where, no one knows for sure. There was a skirmish between the Alliance and an organization known as the Church of Blood. They had grown a massive following. They were more of a terrorist organization than anything else. They are people who believe in pure chaos and anarchy, and they wanted to bring that to the earth. But the Coalition tried to stop them. The Coalition? Yeah. It's only just getting started now, but you've already seen it. The signing of the peace treaty between the three great powers in Asgard and other deities and pantheons. Eventually, they formed the Great Coalition, and the coalition fought against the Church of Blood. That led to an all-out war, and in the process, Raven was captured. Her capture marked the turning point in the war, because through her, Trigon was unleashed, in full, onto the earth. It became a bloodbath. Serzex and the other Devil Kings, Azazel, Michael, Constantine, they had no choice but to fight against him. They managed to wound him greatly, but they all died in the process. You, the White Dragon Emperor, and the Red Dragon Empress also combined your efforts. Raven and everyone else. You suffered loss after loss. Rias, Akano, many of them died in the process. Until eventually there were only a handful in the coalition that remained. And in a desperate bid for power, Shaira and Vali allowed for you to absorb their strength. You absorbed the principle of domination and the principle of division. You assimilated it into yourself, being able to wield both at once and amplifying it to a degree far beyond. With that combined strength, you managed to land a critical blow against Trigon, allowing for Raven to seal it back within herself. But by then, the damage was already done. Heaven had been virtually eviscerated, making all of its powers primarily useless. The underworld was stricken of its kings and any others who could take the throne. And for the fallen angels, they were all but scattered about to the winds. And you can only imagine that a lot of people were angry. They blamed Raven for it. They were prepared to execute her right then and there, but you stopped them. You wouldn't allow them to. And just like that, Earth's greatest champion became its greatest enemy. Because you decided that you would create a new world order. And eventually you convinced Raven to agree. So, she took Trigon after she absorbed him. She struck all of his power from his system, killing him and effectively becoming the new Trigon, with you serving as her right hand. Of course, those who were left tried to stand up against you, Vali, Shaira, but after you had absorbed both of their powers, you could use it against them, and even together they were no match for you. You killed them. You took their power completely, so that the red and the white dragon could never resurrect. They could never reincarnate into another pair of human beings. You captured the Longinus. And those who remained, anyone that tried to fight against you, you struck them down as well. I did all of that. That and then some. What remained of the coalition formed into the resistance, a resistance that I later joined in life as we all tried to stop you. But you all basically brought about the end of the world. And there was no power strong enough to stop you, so that's why we created the time machine, to go back, to try to stop what happens. It's all based on Trigon. The moment Trigon gets unleashed, it's all over. And you're loyal. You're a loyal friend. You're loyal to a fault. Because of that, you won't let happen what needs to happen. You mean killing Raven? I already told you I'm not going to, and why not? Huh? Do you know how much she suffers hearing that bastard in her head 24/7? And you think that having her live is going to change anything? All you're doing is delaying the inevitable. honestly, if things had gone differently, you would have what? What? You thought you were going to sneak to the past? Kill Raven? Huh? Is that it? I just wanted to see but you would do it. If it came to that, I should have known. I should have known you were just here to kill her, right? You weren't even going to give her a chance, and what else am I supposed to do, issei? In case you forgot, I come from the future where your inaction screwed everything. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair. But you made the selfish choice. You got everyone I love killed. Sometimes I can't stand looking at you. Seeing your dumb, stupid face pisses me off. Because you're so self-righteous. Thinking that you know what's best for everyone. Thinking you got the power to change everything. You don't have the power to change shit. But why do you care, right? Because as long as you can sleep at night, knowing that you stuck to your guns, that's all that matters, issei. Shut up. What? If you got a problem with me, we can settle it right now. But let me tell you something. That little balance breaker of yours isn't going to do a damn thing compared to me. You think you got anger? Trust me, you don't know the first thing about anger. I have so much in my heart right now. And yet I have to wake up every day and put a smile on my face, knowing that I may never get back home. And you know what? Even if I did, I don't have a home to come back to. You want to take your shot, then go ahead, issei would say. It doesn't matter to me. It'll all end just the same, right? Don't push me. Little did either of them know, someone had been listening to their conversation. Someone who felt deep down in her heart that this was all her fault. Later on that evening at the Hyodo home, Raven was in her room, looking about through the walls, the photos, all of her memories, when there would be a knock on the door. Raven? Asuya. Hey, dinner's going to be ready shortly. I just wanted to let you know. Oh, thanks, Asuya. Are you okay? It's supposed to be really good tonight. I mean, it always is, but I think you'll like it especially. I helped out in making it. I know it will be. You're a really good person, Asuya. Raven would give Asuya a hug. I'm really thankful to have someone like you in my life. Really. Well, that's what friends are for, isn't it? Dinner would, of course, be delicious as always. Raven watched as issei would be fawned over by both Akano and Rias and everyone else. Shaira rolling her eyes at all the attention that the boy was getting, and the good family banter that went around as it normally did. Rosvisa was drinking along in the corner, getting into festivities, occasionally crying about her past with Constantine. And all in all, Raven felt like all of these people, they were her friends. Zatanna noticed that Raven didn't seem like her usual self, and she wondered if she was all right. After dinner, as they were cleaning the dishes and all, Raven found herself with Zatanna in the kitchen. Something bothering you, Ray? Zatanna. Oh, no, nothing really. I'm good. I'm just a little tired is all. You know, school and everything else. Yeah. I hear you got roped up into the bread eating competition. How's that working out for you? Well, I actually like bread. I prefer it over rice, so I think I'll do pretty okay. Well, just know that we'll all be cheering for you. Yeah, thanks. Late into the night, as everyone had gone to bed respectively, Raven slowly opened her window, leaving a note on her bed as she started to fly out, with a knapsack over her shoulders, carrying only what was essential. If I stay here, I'm only going to cause you guys more trouble. It's better off if I just go on my own. I don't want to die. I know I say it, but I don't. But I know that living is selfish. If it puts everyone else at risk. But if I stay on my own, I should be fine. I don't know when I'm going to go, or what I'm going to do. I just know I have to do something. You're having a troubling thought, aren't you? Raven heard a voice as she had finally landed on the ground a few miles away from home. Who said that? Who are? There's no need to be alarmed. I don't mean to cause you any trouble. What are you doing out here this time of night? I can tell that you're not just out here for a stroll in the park. No, actually, I've been looking for you. Who hasn't at this point? Let me guess. You know something about me, something about my fate, and you only want what's best for me. I want what's best for all of us. And who the hell are you? You can call me Sebastian. And the reason for my being here is because you and I are a lot alike. The young man would say, as he lifted his hood and showed what was on his forehead. That mark, it's just like yours. But how? Don't tell me you're also... Yeah. Unfortunately, that bastard Trigon also happens to be my daddy. But we don't really see eye to eye. Why are you here? What do you want from me? I want to help you. I only just recently learned about you. And I think this is our opportunity. Opportunity to what? To save ourselves. Let's be honest, the world's not going to do it. To them, we're just freaks. We're monsters, ticking time bombs. And to others, they just want to use our power. But I think we can work together. And we can free ourselves of Trigon once and for all. And how would we even do that? I've enlisted the help of some powerful people. And my grandfather. He's been by my side through all of this. I don't know where I'd be without him. Well, at the very least, if you're willing, if we combine our efforts, we can free ourselves of Trigon once and for all. Afterwards, you can be with your friends again. I don't know. I mean, what if it doesn't? What if we... Shh. It's okay, Sebastian said, as his crimson eyes pierced into Raven's. I promise you, everything's going to be okay. You just have to trust me. We don't have much time, though. We need to get a move on. But why? Why so soon? Because if your friends find out, you know what's going to happen. They'll sink their dogs on us, try to capture us, lock us up. You know that's what they'll do. Maybe I just... Raven! The two of them would turn as they saw Issei racing towards them. He hadn't been able to sleep that night, so he had gone to the kitchen to get a drink of water. When he did, he walked past Raven's room with the door slightly cracked. Of course, he wanted to peep in, for reasons that will not be disclaimed, but he saw her bed empty with the note. He immediately went searching for her, and now he'd managed to catch up. Raven, what's going on? Why are you trying to run away? Who's this guy? See, I already told you. They're sending their lapdog. You don't think it's a coincidence that he's always been around, do you? They've been keeping him to watch over you. Besides, he can't really help with your condition now, can he? Issei, I think I don't want to be with you guys anymore. What? Raven, what are you talking about? I need to fix this on my own, okay? You can't help me with this. I promise, everything's going to be fine. I just need you to... If it's about help, then why don't you tell all of us? I mean, if your friend here can really help, then why don't you just let all of us... Maybe I don't want to. Huh? Did you think about that? If I don't want to, I don't want to. It's that simple. Just turn around and go home. You've done enough. I'm not going to be a burden to you anymore. I promise. You're free of me. Free of you? What the... I don't think of you as a burden. I'm just... Issei, stay back. You heard the girl, Sebastian would say. She doesn't mean any ill will by it. She's just trying to... I wasn't talking to you. Really do need to start teaching manners now, don't they? Raven, I can't let you go. And why is that? It's not like we were ever friends anyway. You don't know anything about me. It's not like I'm a devil in Rias's family. So why? Why do I have to stay? I should be able to leave if I want to, right? Right? Yeah, but you... I mean, I'm choosing to leave, Issei. Please. I am begging you. Just go home. I can't do that. Azarath, Metreon, Raven, Zenthos! Immediately, dark shadowy tendrils would wrap around Issei, holding him in place, as she turned to Sebastian. We need to get out of here. That's not going to be able to hold him long. Damn it! Balance breaker! Immediately, issei would don the blue and black armor of the blue Beetle. The power of the scarab activated as he summoned his nano sword and began to cut through the tendrils. "I'm not going to hurt your friend," Sebastian would say. "But this isn't going to tickle either. It looks like I'm going to have to call on reinforcements." 5 puffs of red smoke would appear as 5 individuals would stand beside Sebastian, one of whom both Issei and Raven recognized. "You called for us, Master," Dr. Light would say. "Yeah, we need to hold him off, and we need to get out of here soon. Malachor, start the jump. Everyone else, cover his flanks." As Issei charged as a group, once he caught sight of her, that was when everything changed. What? How are you alive? "Hey, Issei. It's been a while." How do you?" Raven would say. "It's fine. Don't worry about it." Dr. Light would stand in front of the group as he shot off a bright beam that blinded Issei, as multiple light arrows would shoot at him, the armor being the only thing protecting him from the dangers of the light and affect weakness to devils. But that was the distraction, as Rainier would create a sword of light, slashing at Issei's back and cutting at the scarab. "All right now, time for me to do my thing," Papa Midnight said, as he created binding seals to hold Issei in place. "Malachor, you're going to need to get a move on. This is only going to last temporarily." "I'm working on it." "All right. We should be ready for the jump." Just then, a streak of white would appear from the sky. "Oh, great. Another one." The White Dragon Emperor. "We're not equipped for a fight like that. We need to move, now." Together, Sebastian, Raven, and the others would make their descent into the newly made portal by Malachor. As Issei yelled out to Raven, telling her not to go, he watched as they disappeared. As Volley went charging for the portal, the more elderly of the group, and large and older woman, would stand before them as she created a barrier. Not today, sonny boy. Begone!" "Huh? Damn it. She was actually able to make a barrier that powerful. My power wasn't able to cut through hers in time." And with that, the portal would close. As the binds around Issei would vanish, Kuroka and Author Pendragon would arrive as well, along with Damien Dark. "It looks like we were too late." "Damn it!" Damien would say, as he looked to Issei lying on the ground. A strong sense of anger was now beginning to bellow within him. "I told you this would happen, kid. But you didn't want to listen. And now she's gone. I told you. Everything that happens, it's all on you, Issei." This concludes High School DxD Fallen Hero. What if Issei was the Blue Beetle? Season 3, Part 4. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow as we continue and conclude High School DxD Fallen Hero. What if Issei was the Blue Beetle? Season 3, Part 5, the Season 3 finale. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.